We could pretend we're frozen.
We are frozen.
Hey everybody, so we're playing the Peter McCullough interview today, but we have some bad news. The echoes were really bad, so we've had to cut it up. So there's parts that might not make sense, you know what I mean? Like, well, you'll see. And but we'll try to get it out. We try to get all the echo out, but unfortunate. It's never been this bad in a while. It's lucky no one's watching. That's good. So before we go, we'll just wait till someone here. 4 people. Hello.
Yeah, I think we hit our peak when no one was. But yeah, it was a shame. I mean, we had Peter McCullough. We were looking forward to having him on, and he's brilliant as always. But
Yeah.
I was getting so much echo back when I was speaking that I'm afraid I probably looked retarded.
Well, unfortunately, you and I don't make the cut. We're just faces. Everything you said, everything I said. If you want to hear, get in contact with us. If you want to hear the whole thing where Paul speaks for ages, but it's not fit for putting out today.
We can fill in we're here to fill in the blanks, aren't we?
Yeah.
We will fill in the blanks.
So we're going to start right up until we got things. So we're going to play the quiz show. Then we're going to come back afterwards and just have a bit of a chat, and go from there. So but the quiz show tomorrow, we're going to talk about things. One of the things we're going to talk about is poverty, which is why I'll just get this up.
Nothing.
So this is going to be the poverty version of the not just poverty, but we're talking about things. I've been actually putting up a lot of shorts today because all these people have commented on my things about the cost of living, and they won't come on. So I've actually made AI versions of them talking about. Here, I'll show you. People are getting pissed off, but I actually think it's really interesting. I'll give you an example. The best one was this. So these are real comments, but actually put to AI.
To the shops, plan dinners for the week, look for specials in my area, and I starve myself a lot of the time so my husband and kids can eat first, and even still we struggle. Also, rent is outrageous.
I still have an echo, which is just staggering me. I might just move to this less camera.
Are you echoing?
That was echoing then, yeah. That thing was echoing. But this is amazing.
The shops, plan dinners for the week, look for specials in my area, and I
do not know why. So I might just mute you for a sec, Paul. I just want to play that again. Okay, there's nothing with that. Okay, while I've still got Paul there, I think it might be you, Paul. We're going to play. Also, Paul, we've lost access to your Twitter account. So if you want to click edit and then destination and readjust yourself, that would be good.
Do I need to pop out for that?
Yeah, probably, yeah. But yeah, the echo's coming from your side though. Here we go. Okay, so anyway, let's see. The echo on the clothes. That's right. I understand that. Okay, so this is the quiz show. Have for tomorrow. This is the promo. See what you think. Be honest.
We earn nothing, and we are not happy. It's the quiz show on the clo. 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 Oh, fuck. Is it only Monday?
We shouldn't have eaten the horses.
Hey, times are tough.
It's China. They want to know if we'll take offers.
Is it only Monday? his internet will lag, and his prize is a crap. And I'm pretty sure he never took the fucking jab. But since you're all out of fuel, because your government shafted you, where else can you go? So, roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and come on down to Cafe Locked Out, because it's the quiz show on the club. It's the quiz show. It's the quiz show on the club. It's the quiz show on the club. Come on, everybody.
Giddy up, fast,
Sing
you
along.
lads. Yes, sir. Yeah, keep going. Hey, slow down. Almost there.
Is it really only Monday night?
So that's the quiz show for tomorrow. We're going to be talking, well, where we are. Now, let's see if Oosterhuis has fixed his echo problem.
I don't know, have I?
Hello, hello, yes. So that's... Unfortunately, I might put my camera back on then. Unfortunately, we interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough yesterday. Let me get this on. Was it yesterday, Paul? Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yes, in the morning.
Or Thursday morning, those. And there we go. We interviewed him Thursday morning, and it was a great interview. He's very honored to have him, but unfortunately, we had a terrible echo that we couldn't figure out who caused it, because they were. So it's only like the interview of our time. Anyway, shit happens. So we've cut it up into the things that didn't have an echo ish, and that's what we're going to go with. So and we got a new song by Troy to finish. He sent me some new songs. The guy's on fire. Oh, thanks, Blonde Pimpernel. Disco on the Clo. Yeah. So I'm gonna have some fun tomorrow. Now the first bit of this is Stuart Copeland said we should write a new Welcome to Country. So I know a lot of people hate AI, but I feel that it's really fun to work with and gets our message across well. So the start of this is a short snippet of Cafe Lockdown's version of Welcome to Country, and then we'll go straight to the interview with Peter, and afterwards Paul and I will come back and fill in the blanks. I'll play Peter.
We will try.
And Paul will play all the other doctors. See you in a bit. Okay, this is it. See you in a bit.
Why are we putting up with all of this?
Don't we want all of our kids to know
That they are all wanted.
that this land is their home?
Why are we putting up with all of this?
Don't
So we want all of our kids to know
that
they are all wanted.
That this land is their home.
Poetry and concept by what Prime Minister Anthony Albanese refers to as right-wing extremists. Music and videos by Grok Imagine. Thanks, Elon.
States recently would be of interest to an Australian audience. Paul, I've seen your post. You've been following it. Dr. Trinh, I saw your interview with Dr. Bowden. But I think we should pound away at that so this can percolate through Australia. Tomorrow, which will be your next day, I believe, or the trailing, there's going to be a vote on contempt, and we'll explain this, and then the states that are now moving forward to prosecute Fauci, and Fauci essentially represented this false government narrative. He actually helped craft it, And when I spoke to members of the upper house in Australia, in Canberra, when last time I visited, they told me, when we asked them, where did you get your information and who did you trust? They said Anthony Fauci and the United States government. So.
Yeah, Peter, it was totally obvious that the centre of evil for the whole COVID campaign was America, but also the centre of light came from America yourself. And I watched your postings from early on, and Paul Marek and Pierre Corey and so forth. So, yep, we are well aware of what's been going on in America and how important it is.
Practicing in Dallas, Texas, so I'm fully licensed in multiple states, and I'm board certified by one of our two major boards. And like many of the doctors on the call, I suffered professional reprisal, for turning out to be correct on really specific maneuvers in the pandemic, and that is early treatment in order to help patients avoid hospitalization and death, and then questioning the safety and then later the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines, which turned out to be unsafe and ineffective. So many of you have seen proceedings in the United States. Now, I've testified before Congress 5 times. I've been in the exact same seat that Anthony Fauci was in last week in front of the U.S. Senate. And what America saw, I thought, was a travesty. The world saw this. Anthony Fauci, who had given over 1,700 television interviews, and I had given many hundred myself, probably over 1,000. So we were both up there. I can tell you that Anthony Fauci, unlike me, where every time I appeared before the Senate, I testified truthfully to the best of my ability and ethically, Fauci did what I thought was completely deplorable, that is he pled the Fifth Amendment in the United States. The Fifth Amendment of the Constitution is the right to remain silent. Recall that he has a 10-year preemptive pardon for any crimes he may have committed through the pandemic, and it's my understanding that he sought that pardon. It was his motivations that prompted Biden or Biden's surrogate to sign the pardon. And you saw Fauci getting lambasted by senators, praised by some, but largely criticized. And now we await a vote for contempt of Congress, and that'll occur shortly. But that's a brief update from the United States.
Fauci was happy to tell us what to do, but he wasn't happy to.
That crimes committed can fall into two major categories. One is fraud or fraudulent concealment. Fauci revealed in his diaries, which he kept on a government server, what he knew about the pandemic, his private conversations, and that was much different than what he told President Trump and then later President Biden and what he told the U.S. public. So he committed fraud on many important topics, including his participation in the creation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And I think the second broad category of criminal conduct is what's considered mass negligent homicide. People died unnecessarily from SARS-CoV-2 infection based on his nihilistic approach, which was translated into policy, public policy, to not treat patients to the best of our abilities as we were dealing with them on the front line. And this occurred all over the world. And then the second mechanism of homicide was actually death after vaccination. And the COVID-19 vaccines and over 4,000 peer-reviewed papers have fatal side effects. And Fauci, leading the public health apparatus, did not take any measures to reduce risk of death. And patients weren't fairly informed that they could die of COVID-19 vaccination. Even the current package inserts do not mention these fatal side effects. All of this was encouraged by Dr. Anthony Fauci. And so Dr. Paul Oosterhuis has done a terrific job on Twitter X, as well as Jeffrey Tucker at Brownstone Institute, of reading the diary and understanding these very, very important implications. Fauci's own words now indict him on these two major divisions of crime. The ramifications were great in the United States, which was not so severely affected as Australia. Of the small businesses that closed during the pandemic, 60% of them never returned. Our US budget ballooned, our national debt ballooned. All of this was unnecessary. What was really needed was an early treatment program at home for high-risk individuals, particularly those in nursing homes and congregate settings, reasonable measures to protect our most vulnerable citizens. And the most effective contagion control measures are nasal sprays and gargles. This intervention, Fauci still has never even considered. And I think importantly, vaccination should have not been considered as a pandemic solution. And even if an experimental vaccine would be offered in the United States, I would draw a circle around a population of potentially 1.7 million Americans who live in nursing homes and congregate living settings, but certainly not, all 360 million Americans. And sadly, an emphasis on those who had a negligible risk of severe disease, including children and young adults. Even, many of the adults listening to this broadcast just don't have a clinical indication to receive any form of vaccination for this very mild illness. Clearly, Australia had the advantage of in a sense, pre-vaccination. The virus landed late in the continent, so we had a chance to see what the vaccine really did in terms of prevention. And Australia has some of the starkest examples of vaccine failure. So COVID-19 vaccination did not save lives. The false claim that COVID vaccines saved millions of lives is not supported by the evidence. There's no randomized trial that had death or hospitalization as a primary endpoint where the vaccines made an impact at all. There are no valid observational studies that have identified a mortality reduction. And a valid study would have to control for natural immunity, early treatment, and milder forms of the virus. And none of the analyses that claim a mortality benefit have done so. And then lastly, the package inserts do not claim a mortality benefit for the COVID vaccines. And by the way, when medicinal products do reduce mortality, that is a major claim on the package insert. I know this as a cardiologist because we use drugs every day to treat patients to reduce death, and that's right there in the package insert. We know that COVID vaccines do not save lives because the companies have never been able to make that regulatory claim. Just briefly, multiple books now going back to COVID-19, The Global Predators by Peter Breggin. My first book, Courage to Face COVID-19, Senator Rand Paul's book, Deception, and Robert F. Kennedy's book, The Real Anthony Fauci. All of them outline that the whole coronavirus pandemic was pre-planned. There was 36 pandemic preparedness planning events. It was specifically going to be a coronavirus. It was going to come out of China. All of this was telegraphed by the Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, through the SARS pandemic, Event 201. And then clearly there's a whole trail of evidence that Moderna, which got all of its startup funding from the US government, was in fact working on a vaccine long before the pandemic actually became known as a worldwide problem. And in that specific request, Dr. Oosterhuis, that Moderna was asking Ralph Barrick for material to challenge their vaccine. And the question is, did Ralph Barrick actually have SARS-CoV-2 in his laboratory in University of North Carolina on Chapel Hill? That's the question on the table. All of this needs a thorough investigation. Barrick has been summarily retired early, debarred from doing any more research at his university. Peter Daszak, the go-between between Fauci, Barrick, and the Chinese, he's been debarred. from the National Institutes of Health. Fauci has a pardon. I think where this is all ending up is because the government has a gross conflict of interest in what happened here. I think our Department of Justice, currently led by Todd Blanche, should assign a special independent counsel to go in and thoroughly investigate with targets. And targets are people who we think committed crimes. That would be Fauci, his understudy David Morens, Dr. Ralph Barrick, Peter Daszak, and probably a larger penumbra of individuals involved here. And then, of course, there'll be other witnesses who are subjects. They could become targets. And then fact witnesses. I'd be happy to be a fact witness. I've been involved. Paul, you would be a very good one as well. But this has been a great opening discussion about where we are in this whole COVID pandemic. 6 years into it, the vindication of doctors who were right in trusting their instincts on early treatment and vaccine safety. It'd be great to hear from some other people on the panel. The process, which will happen in the next 24 hours, is a vote by the U.S. Senate, and I'm told by sources that there are enough votes to do this, that he will be held in contempt of in the Senate. Now, that's punishable by federal fines or imprisonment. This happened actually to Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon in the prior Trump administration. They actually each had to serve 90 days in jail for contempt of Congress. Now, every time I've been called to the Senate or the House of Representatives, I've shown up. So, one of the ways to avoid contempt is to show up and testify truthfully. But I think this will be the very first step by which Fauci formally gets in front of the Department of Justice. I'm told by Senator Rand Paul that the previous Attorney General, Pam Bondi, just refused to take up the case of Anthony Fauci. What we're seeing time and time again is that Fauci had very, very powerful allies in Washington, and you can read that in some of his memoirs. He was dealing with some of the wealthiest people on earth, Sam Altman, Bill Gates, and many more.
Thank you.
I might jump in there if I may. Can you hear me all right, Peter? There was some echoing earlier.
Yes.
So, first of all, I want to echo the thanks. You were one of the voices that we followed early on. And as you can see from my title there, I was cancelled after 32 years as an anaesthesiologist. Never had a complaint against me, never a problem, until COVID came along and I started offering publicly a contrary view. And I thought I was unusually well qualified as a doctor by the rest of my life experience. I'd worked in a research lab, I had public health training, I'd been a military officer, I had publications, not as many as yours. And so when COVID came along, I started doing my own deep dive. And I worked out pretty early on that the entire construct of the management program was wrong on every level. Looking at it as a military campaigns are won by logistics, not by casualties. And what we did is cut our own supply lines. We locked everybody down. I then looked at the experience on the Diamond Princess. I looked at what happened in 1918. I noted that the Spanish flu got all the way around the world prior to air travel. So I worked out pretty early on every single thing they were doing was wrong. And then I examined the safety and effectiveness, and that was all wrong too. And when I started publicly speaking out about that, I became a problem. So first off, I had a visit from the state police telling me that I needed to pull my head in, otherwise things might happen that I did not want. And shortly after that, I lost my job because I refused the mandates. That left me free to go to our million-man march in Canberra, which I did, where the federal police actually framed me for a bogus traffic offence and threw me in jail for a week. I was then on bail for a year. Then I had a 3-day criminal trial where they said that I had committed vehicular assault, basically. Only problem was I'd filmed everything and proved it was all wrong. So I was exonerated, but it was a long and difficult process. And you look around the panel, I'm not registered anymore because I couldn't even enter a hospital without my Nazi pass, without my proof of vaccination. My lead Trinh 5 years later, is still being prosecuted for saving a patient's life with ivermectin. Paul got deregistered. Mark got deregistered. David, did you get deregistered?
Yeah.
So we had a systematic campaign of silencing any thinking doctor. And in fact, our regulator, APRA, sent what was called the gag order around to every medical practitioner, which basically said, unless you read exactly the government policy about COVID, you are practicing unprofessionally. And that's why we're all here, because we gave our patients the truth, not the government line. I notice you're still registered. How did you manage that?
Well, I was, during the time of the pandemic, we have not a federal register, but we have state registers or licensing. So that actually helped in the United States. So I was licensed in 2 states. And like you, I had 40 years of practice. I never had a medical board complaint. So I had my first one in Texas, of which I went through a trial. And the conclusion was that I met the standard of care. There was no violation. There was no harm to the patient at all. But the state of Texas kept me under investigation for another 1.5 years. And I would receive monthly certified letters, but no progress. And then finally it was dropped. And then subsequently, I had a second complaint that really had to deal with my work at the wellness companies, which we formed in 2022. And that's been dismissed. So I've come under investigation, but not been delicensed. Now, some other physicians in the United States weren't as lucky, but what's saved us in the United States is the difference between the federal government and state governments and state licensing boards. So I've maintained licensure. Now, our certifications is different. That's our credentialing. We have 2 major bodies, the American Board of Internal Medicine, and then the National Board of Physicians and Surgeons. And so for well over 30 years, I was certified through the American Board of Internal Medicine. In fact, I voluntarily took additional certification exams just to keep my my competency up and in good stead, because I was a program director in there. In 2021, I believe, I came under investigation for violating a policy, a COVID misinformation policy. So I was accused of violating the policy in my Texas Senate testimony in March, even though the policy didn't get published until September. So according to the board, I had violated a policy that didn't even exist at the time. I couldn't have known that the policy existed. It didn't matter. Like you and like everybody else on the call, I was prosecuted, and over 2 years, it became clear that that they weren't going to listen to any of my points or review any of my peer-reviewed papers or my carefully vetted statements. And so I resigned from the American Board of Internal Medicine in the fall of 2024, and I already had secured board certification through the alternative board, the National Board of Physicians and Surgeons. So it had to do with state licensing boards instead of one federal, and the fact that we have 2 certification organizations. That's what's kept me and many of the others who have been on the front lines in health freedom, kept us in practice.
Mylene, you also got prosecuted for saving a patient's life for ivermectin at a time when it was legal.
Correct. So I treated her using ivermectin, doxycycline, and zinc, but she was quite unwell. She's still 1.71%. But she continued to get a lot sicker over the next few days, and I had to institute post-steroid for her. She developed some psychosis, and as a result, she presented to casualty. I unfortunately was identified as a doctor that used ivermectin, and I think that's the reason why they came after me. But in particular, I was reported by the intern of the Associate Professor Narangunja, who is the toxicology department of Westmead Hospital. And he was instrumental in reporting a case of an ivermectin overdose at casualty at Westmead. And this story was, I'm sorry about the echoes. This story was reported by the media, intense media broadcasting over 3 days, and a week later, ivermectin was banned. So, and then I was reported by a person by the name of John Smith, who, and that complaint was, to me, completely fraudulent. And those were the two complaints, and I didn't have any patient complaint against me at all.
Did the patient survive?
Yes, she did. But also the expert witness for the Healthcare Complaints Commission admitted that I saved that woman's life.
Mm-hmm.
So they have found me guilty of unsatisfactory professional conduct for saving a woman's life and professional misconduct, because I failed to I failed to hand over 20 to 30 patients' medical files.
Yeah, well, I just can say that we're well into many dozens of prospective randomized clinical trials with ivermectin. It was in the McCullough protocol by December of 2020 based on the evidence. McCullough protocol is the most widely used, peer-reviewed, published, complex multi-drug protocol to treat severely ill acute COVID-19 patients who are at high risk. It's by far the it's a more extensive treatment program than even what hospitals offer. And ivermectin played a role. I used it extensively, but no drug in the protocol was necessary nor sufficient. Doctors learned how to treat the problem without using ivermectin. But remember, use of hydroxychloroquine was vilified. Vitamin D, nasal sprays and gargles. The company that's the largest purveyor of nasal sprays and gargles, the company itself was sued and put through a very, very expensive court process. Monoclonal antibodies, which were high-tech and very useful, they were also they were minimized and made difficult to get in the United States. So this was a pattern. Unfortunately, doctors who stood up for their patients, and you fulfilled your Hippocratic oath, to preserve life and above all, do no harm, that you were damaged through this process, as many others were. And I can only hope that the authorities will review what's happened and reverse course and restore doctors. And I think what's happened with Anthony Fauci, and it was really good that Senator Johnson brought up how efficacious ivermectin is and how safe it is. Now, like all drugs, ivermectin has side effects. I've seen them myself, but as doctors, we don't guarantee that drugs are free of side effects. We fairly inform patients of the risks and the benefits. So you made all the right decisions, you saved the patient's life, and I sincerely hope that you're vindicated.
We saw very early on that the COVID campaign was not a public health campaign, it was a get vaxxed campaign. And demonising ivermectin and doctors who prescribed it was necessary. And they ran into a problem with me because I'd been a military doctor for 20 years. I'd done multiple tours to the Middle East and also the tropics. And I'd noticed 20 years beforehand that when I came out of East Timor, they would give us a whole bunch of what they call exit country drugs, including ivermectin, which was a anti-helminthic, because in case you picked up tropical worms. Now add to that the fact that I'm a lifelong horseman and I kept horses. So I knew about ivermectin for horses too. And when ivermectin became effectively outlawed for treating COVID in Australia, one of my crimes is that I very quickly told people how to obtain veterinary supplies and what the appropriate doses were. And in fact, I used to speak at public rallies and hold up a big sign with a recipe that told you how to do that. So I think that was a key reason why I was targeted. I wasn't just disagreeing with the program, I was publicising the alternative, which threatened the entire program.
Well, let me just say that naysayers for ivermectin will say it doesn't work, and governments around the world did not invest in clinical trials for ivermectin like they did for the branded Merck and Pfizer drugs. We would need a clinical trial of about 40,000 patients assigned to ivermectin versus placebo. And ivermectin would need to be given like it is in the McCullough protocol for 5 to 30 days in patients who are at very high risk in acute COVID-19. And the outcome should be hospitalization and death. And after treating thousands of patients and having a good understanding of the drug, I would infer that such a trial would be positive, early on in the pandemic. Remember, Paxlovid, the first government-approved oral drug, was not available for the first 2 years of the pandemic. So our antivirals were hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and then in about 5 countries, favipiravir. So government authorities didn't have any alternative that we could use. I would like to hear from some other people on the panel. We're at about the midpoint now. Maybe from Dr. Nixon next.
Yes, thank you, Peter. I've been sitting here reflecting on the last 6 years, and so much has happened. But one of the things that happened very early on was I actually emailed you after I'd been listening to one of your presentations, and you put me in touch with some forums and support groups and information, which was very helpful. I even dropped you a little email later on when I became in touch with some friction, shall we say? And I think your quick reply was be bold. And I'm sure you had lots of doctors all around the world that were in touch with you, but I was most grateful for that support at the time where I was trying to understand early treatment and we were waiting in Australia for this huge wave of COVID, but it didn't happen in the way that we expected. But I was certainly arming myself with the early treatment. One of the things I got in trouble for actually was once ivermectin had been banned, I was looking at alternatives, and we were looking at artemisia or artemisinin as an alternative, and I actually got reported to the authorities by pharmacists because I wasn't following the prescribed guidelines. So it's a bit of a circuitous argument. Most doctors were following their government prescribed algorithms, and therefore those that weren't were out of step and not following what everybody else was doing, so therefore they were wrong.
But Dr. Nixon,
so thank you for the support. I'd be interested to know how you feel the control in Australia was exerted from America, or how it certainly was bigger than just Dr. Anthony Fauci in terms of the way things happened in Australia. I'd be interested to know your thoughts about how and why that was done.
It's an observation that the former British colonies, so South Africa, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, took a very, very severe approach to the doctors. And, it's unclear why. When we asked them, they said they were following the United States. In the United States, we may have just had a large enough nucleus of doctors who were questioning the government false narrative, and we had just a few government leaders who were willing to listen to us, notably Senator Ron Johnson, later on Senator Rand Paul, Senator Roger Marshall, Bernie Moreno, and Josh Hawley in the Senate, and then just a few in the U.S. House of Representatives that were willing to listen to us. But what I think it's the federal nature of the British colonies that's part of it. But we saw in Canada, where the licensure is based on the province, that the provinces took a very severe approach to the doctors, particularly the province of Ontario. But let me just say that the TGA, Therapeutic Goods Administration, and the very first set of guidelines that came out in Australia, as I recall, for COVID, listed about 12 things not to do. Not to do. They didn't list a single intervention to actually undertake as a doctor. So essentially, Australia was prohibiting all forms of early treatment to patients, leaving them absolutely no option. So they were desperate. Australians were desperate for any form of early treatment. Now, Artemisia is derived from Chinese wormwood, does have some antiviral properties. In fact, work on it was awarded the Nobel Prize the same year that ivermectin was. So that was reasonable, and a whole variety of other natural products. Keep in mind, hydroxychloroquine is derived from the Cinchona tree, ivermectin from the soil in Japan, aspirin from the birch tree, vitamin D, a naturally occurring substance, heparin, the anticoagulants are naturally occurring. All of these steroids are naturally occurring. All of the products that were used in these multi-drug protocols, and we never had large prospective double-blind randomized trials of drugs used in combination, and that was clearly needed. But all of those successfully used in protocols were derived from nature. The only drug class I think that was purely synthetic that did work were the monoclonal antibodies. But let's hear from someone else. Maybe hear from Dr. Hobart next, and who I know. So.
Oh, something wrong with your microphone, Dr. Hobart.
He's muted.
Well, while he's working on it, if anything we've learned to have our kind of Zoom strategy, everyone has. So Paul is always in outer space. Let's see, Michael looks like he's just came off an academy. But I view myself as particularly fortunate in that I've always had a voice on national television throughout the pandemic. I've been featured in Senate and congressional hearings, traveled the world, and in 2022 we started the Wellness Company, which is far and away the most successful corporate entity emerging in the health freedom space. And the Wellness Company, by the way, is the only corporate entity in the world that has spoken out against COVID-19 vaccination. The only company. And that's the Wellness Company. Now we've got offices in Florida and Texas, the National Medicare Care Management contract, nutraceutical supplements, doctors working by telemedicine. I work in the office there. And we're growing, we'll be well into a multi-billion-dollar company. So Wellness Company has been a tremendous success. I founded McCullough Foundation. McCullough Foundation is a charitable organization. We've recruited terrific individuals. Some of you may follow Nick Holscher, who's an epidemiologist from the University of Michigan, myself. You've mentioned John Leake, best-selling author. We have a whole team of scholars. So McCullough Foundation is yet another very bright spot. And I'll give credit to others. Brownstone Institute arose through the pandemic. We've seen Children's Health Defense and ICANN and the Highwire Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, all of these independent sources of information have become very, very dominant in the US and the worldwide scene. So Michael, what we're seeing out of this is we're seeing strength from those heroes. We're not seeing any strength from the orthodoxy. Do you know there's no one from Monash or University of Sydney or Harvard that has come out and said anything in the last few years? They're essentially in hiding.
Amazing. Dr. Hobart, can you... Well done. We've had Nick on twice. Nick's incredible. Yeah.
So I mean, Nick is not even 30 years old yet. So what we need to do is involve young people. Something happened in the minds of people all over the world. And you know, of interest, Dr. Canceled after 32 years. Dr.
That's Dr. Paix.
Bruce Paix.
Bruce Paix. Yeah. You believe it or not, as severely as you were treated, it's not as severe as religious leaders. So I've noted in this pandemic, the people who received the strongest reprisal were religious leaders. So I had a chance to meet Art Pawlowski, who was a pastor in his church in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. He refused to close his church. He was placed in jail in solitary confinement in the dark for 3 months. I met Tony Spell. I go to his annual program. He was imprisoned 6 times in central Louisiana. So it was the religious leaders who were treated most severely. So there's a pattern here. What happened all over the world all at once was a man-made virus got people sick. There was a strong wave of nihilism and lack of compassion that percolated in through the medical community. And then there was unbridled, relentless, largely genetic vaccination all over the world. The COVID vaccines have not been pulled off the market in any country. They're still going strong in over 140 countries. No country has done a safety review. No country has inspected the vials for their contents. So the question on the table is, that can't be Anthony Fauci. That can't be Pfizer or Moderna. That can't be John Skerritt or the TGA or SAFRA. What entities are so powerful to execute such a pandemic plan? Noted that there's not the appropriate anger for death after vaccination. The spouses and surviving family aren't sufficiently alarmed or activated about this. And there certainly isn't this anger about the vaccine ruining people's lives. It's a very interesting observation, and there are several analyses suggesting actually vaccination fundamentally changes the brain and changes neuropsychiatric function in some way. But it is very interesting. And I remember one time I did a Twitter poll, and I said, of all the public figures who've been injured by the vaccine, and there are a lot of them that we could just rattle off that have been clearly injured by the vaccine, well documented, why don't they come out and warn others, use their platform to warn others? And you know what the answer was? The answer was, from the followers, they said they've already lost so much, they're afraid they'd lose more. In fact, some of the media are praising him, saying that he's being picked on or he's being unfairly treated. And I was on national TV multiple times last week. I said, listen, I've been in that very seat. I've testified for hours. And yes, some senators treat witnesses more harshly. I've been treated harshly. That's just part of public life. So Fauci wasn't picked on, but I agree on your comment about vaccinology being a religion, and that's what we tapped into. In my second book, which became a New York Times bestseller, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality, written by John Leake, we point out that you mentioned Anthony Fauci being a high priest. Well, I can tell you Louis Pasteur was a high priest, and so was Edward Jenner. And we go back in history. It turns out vaccines have always been blindly accepted by populations driven by fear, tremendous money and profiteering, royalty involved, that this isn't new. And you think you were roughly treated, anybody on this call, I can tell you people got put in jail in the late 19th century if they didn't take a smallpox vaccine. In fact, there was a doctor tried for murder because he didn't have one of his patients vaccinated for smallpox. That's happened in history. In the US, Canada, and the UK participated in this history. So there's something about vaccines. And if you notice now, if you question any vaccine, not just the COVID vaccines, any vaccine, there is that same degree of consternation, professional reprisal, ostracism, even just a conversation regarding vaccine safety. Cases like this, there's Dr. Kuska in the Toronto area, the same thing. And this even went towards giving exemptions for people wearing masks. There are people with respiratory conditions that couldn't affect the minute ventilation. And just giving an exemption for a mask brought sanctions and then reprisal, suspension of medical practice, and then illegal harvesting of charts. So the same thing. So the same behavior. So the question is, what would make regulators in Australia behave the same way as regulators in Canada, assuming they're not talking to one another?
They're controlled. They're told what to do. The
By
same
who?
people that are controlled.
By who, though?
Well, people that are higher up than them, higher up the chain. Where does the chain stop? I don't really know, but it goes pretty high, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, my first book, we struggle with this, and we came up with a term called the biopharmaceutical complex. And the biopharmaceutical complex, we think, is essentially a power organization that's formed over decades. And in the group is the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, the Gates Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, the Rockefeller Foundation, Gavi and Unitaid, UNAID, and then as we go outward, all the regulatory agencies. So CDC, NIH, FDA, the Health Canada, the MHRA in the UK, the EMA in Europe, SAFRA, AFRA, TGA, that they're interlinked. And I think who was giving a lot of the command and control was the World Health Organization. Of which,
I think it's...
Yeah, but of which Anthony Fauci, by the way, is still prominently positioned in the WHO, Bill Gates and others. But the WHO has over 100 what's called NFPs, or National Focal Points. And the one in the United States is called PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization in Washington, D.C. They're communication nodes. And, you know, when you talk about who's giving the orders or direction, I think it's the WHO. They're in sync with the regulatory agencies. The regulatory agencies turn around and they do the exact same thing in countries all over the world. The actions are too similar and occurring at the same time.
I agree, Dr. McCullough, and I think it extends beyond COVID. For example, I think it extends to euthanasia. It extends to gender treatment of so-called gender treatment, both hormonal and surgical. I think it extends to abortion, and I think it also Yeah, well, they're the main ones.
Well,
So it's a broad umbrella. Mm.
Yeah, I would add to that MAID, or medical
Yeah.
assistance in dying.
That's right.
There's like
That's like the abattoir of the poor.
Right, there's a whole series of things now in medicine. So you're right, it's not just the COVID pandemic. And you brought up, I thought, was a great validation that something's gone wrong, and that's this madness of transgender medicine. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, listen, I was at a major medical center. I was a program director, division chief. I've been equivalent of a dean at one of the centers. We never had any emails about transgender. We never had any grand rounds. We never had any discussion about this, if this was going to be safe or a good thing for children. This just came out of nowhere. And it's not COVID. No. So I can tell you that something is going on big right now. We are in a time of a great controversy. There's no doubt about it. And I think we'll probably spend the rest of our careers trying to unravel what is going on and why. So can you give the numbers? Roughly how many doctors in Australia are either delicensed or suspended right now? Essentially, they can't work as doctors. You have United States, it's probably a handful. Canada, it's probably a similar number. But as we close, let me just say, I think everybody on this call is a hero. You did the right things. You used your judgment. You can hold your head up, and be proud of playing a role here, a role in something that's going on. I think it's honestly way bigger than medicine. I think it's something going on with humanity all over the world all at once right now. So I think we just need to stay together and stay tuned for what's going to come out next. Get on social media, get connected, and thank you so much for having me on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Yes.
So what did you think? I cut out all the bits that echoed. That's what
No, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Isn't it
There's some pretty
brilliant?
good stuff in there, though.
Yeah. What a brilliant doctor, and there's so much to unpack. Now, we did lose a bit of material, but yes. One of the things I learned, Michael, that I didn't know was when Dr. McCullough was talking, that he faced reprisals too,
Yeah.
And the thing that saved his bacon, he said, was that they had alternative pathways to licensing. So they had state licensing and they had alternative boards. And that's one of the things I've been saying, that to break the coercive control over the medical profession, we need alternative pathways to. We have to break the monopoly of APRA. Whether APRA stays or not, we have to have alternatives. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, Dr. McCullough's been on lots of TV and stuff like that.
Over 1,100.
Yeah. He's almost up there with Fauci. What Fauci was 1,700, he said.
You think it's funny, though? I mean, I was watching it and we're all echoing and I'm just thinking, oh. But then Hobart has a go and his mic doesn't work. He's just like, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's great. That's great. Welcome to Australia. Welcome to Cafe Lockdown.
We had a bad day, but look, I hope people enjoyed what
Barry Barry's in. G'day, Barry. Yeah.
We need alternative media as well. Well, yes, Barry. We're here for what it's worth. Look, we talked about the devastating effects of Fauci's crimes. The lockdowns, the 6 feet rule that had no basis, masking kids, closing schools. It did an enormous amount of harm. Just those, it's plenty. And people are waking up to that now, which is really good. He said 60% of small businesses never recovered.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and all we needed was early treatment. That sounds like stuff I was saying, Marco, because I was furious.
And he said the TGA didn't have one thing of early treatment to offer any doctors in Australia. That's what he said. I've taken the short, I think it's 48 minutes. And he said they had a whole list of what you couldn't do, but nothing of what you could do.
Exactly.
Vaccine. Yeah.
Well, you know, I've been meaning to, you know, Miley Trinh was interviewed recently by Dr. Mary Kelly Bowden.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
And I felt like making exactly that point, Michael, that during her tribunal inquisition and flagellation, the government was literally, I couldn't believe it. Like the protocol was, the instructions were to do nothing.
Yes.
And that was the standard of care that she breached.
Yeah.
Okay, they're saying she's saying she performed below the standard because she actually did something, you know. And then he makes the point later that Australia, they went and shut down all the treatments. They made hydroxychloroquine illegal to prescribe in Queensland. They destroyed Clive Palmer's warehouse full of the tablets. They did the whole horse pace thing. So they really put the Australian doctors in a bind, all to funnel us into the shots.
You know, you might be missing one thing. You know what they might be really angry at Miley for? Because if that woman had died, what would they have put on her death certificate? COVID. She would have been added to the tally of COVID. They would have used her to frighten a lot more people into getting vaccines. And what got in their way? Dr. Miley gave her ivermectin. Dr. Miley saved her life and ruined their plans. And the other disgusting thing to anyone out there watching who might know, the woman is suing Miley or has sued Miley. Not only her, she's a Muslim woman, Islamic woman, but her husband sued Miley, her children, the woman's relatives, we believe, cousins, our brothers and sisters and grandparents, they've all sued Miley. And I believe that the insurer is going to pay out, which goes to discrediting Miley even further. But that's it. A whole family sues a doctor who saved, like suing a doctor for saving your life.
That's to me, that's grifting.
The reason I'm saying that is it's not that well known. And I think it's so disgusting that here we are basically, Miley's having a life destroyed because she saved a woman's life. And on the other side, she's getting sued by the woman and the woman's entire family for doing so. So literally, our medical establishment and that woman's family and the woman herself is saying to Miley, why didn't you just let me die? And she couldn't do that because she's a doctor.
Yeah, because she understood that you could treat COVID. And that woman was in a bad way. She had pneumonia, low oxygen levels. Her life was in danger. And when Miley talks about pulse steroids, when you've got bad pneumonia that's responsive to steroids, as this was, or you've got bad asthma, sometimes the doctors will give you a large dose of a steroid to save your life. And that's what happened, that with the ivermectin and the doxycycline saved that woman's life. But it just boggles the mind, doesn't it? That's
you're right, Jan. 100%.
That's performing. But I wanted to mention there's been some changes since.
I just got to say, Jane, keep taking the ivermectin, because when you enter the Melbourne Cup, I'm betting on you, baby. You're going to win that. You're going to win that by a furlong. Okay, keep going.
Well, look, we should pick up just some of the things that have happened over the last week.
Yeah.
Also, the related. One of the things Dr. McCullough said was that no country has yet withdrawn the mRNA injections.
In fact, they've added it to the flu shot. The flu shot is now going to be mRNA, thanks to that new woman in charge of the CDC. It looks like she's worse than Fauci because she believes what she's doing. So from now on, the flu shot's going to have mRNA in it. There you go.
Well, she was known as the queen of mandates, right? So now she's approved another gene shot, just like COVID, just change the bullets and fire, same weapon, same platform.
Oh, no testing. They're not testing it because they're using the tests that they did on a previous flu shot, which didn't have mRNA, but that doesn't matter. So they'll say, oh, well, we tested the COVID one and we tested the flu one, so this is the two together. What could go wrong? Let's just give it to everyone on the fucking planet.
Yeah, it's called active comparator. They used a high dose of the quadrivalent flu vaccine, which is the chick embryo developed. Yeah. Chick embryo in cell culture developed flu jab. Now, that doesn't work very well. Okay, so they're comparing it to a shitty product, and yet got six times the side effects, 6 times the adverse effects. Everything was they were all sicker. There was like double the rates of headaches, and people were like suffering pain at the site of injection, but also whole body malaise. So it sounds like the shot was worse than the flu, probably for many, and it's a little bit nuts. So basically now they're giving but this is the thing, Michael. This new CDC.
It's okay, Paul. I'm just taking over comments. Cal's doing something else.
Okay. The new CDC director has now.
That's right, Katie.
Has now approved gene therapy for the flu.
Yeah.
It's the same gene therapy as for COVID. Synthetic lipid nanoparticles, and synthetic mRNA. Only this time it's spelt a little bit differently.
That's correct. Good to hear from you, brother.
The spike, the spike was toxic. We don't know how toxic the hemagglutinin antigen that they chose is, but the rest of the platform is got all the problems. Okay, so now that they're calling it a flu shot, what comes next? The flu is something that they give every year, right? So this new director, I think it's Erica Schwartz, has set up a situation where when now it's no longer COVID,
no,
but all sorts of like the military and other organizations are now mandating the flu shot.
Yeah.
And the flu shot is no longer the chicken embryo flu shot.
Yeah,
the flu shot is now the gene therapy flu shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to say that. Now.
Yeah. It's the nanotech express to hell. That's what it is.
Yeah. So not only was it more, it was you can see it was more toxic.
I bet if you go in, I wish these vaccinators would come in, and they'd come in, they go, I've seen you taking your 2 COVID shots and 6 boosters, and you're still with us. So, you feeling lucky, punk? Are you? Are you feeling lucky?
Well, I think it's pretty close to the truth.
I know it's close to the truth. That's why it's funny.
It's way too close to the truth. I'm just gonna share what Pierre Corey. Did you hear about Pierre Corey's case?
Huge. Yeah.
So on one hand, we've got this great big ball of shit called Mflusia, which is the mRNA flu jab, and we've got it starting to be mandated because it's just the flu shot, which is awful. But this is good news. So he wrote on his Substack, and he's been doing some interviews recently, that he's won a significant case in California. And I'll just quote something that he said. He wrote, speaking of the decision, what they can no longer do is punish us for telling our own patients the truth as we saw it. That in our medical judgment, the state was coercing and mandating its citizens into receiving toxic, lethal, ineffective, illogical, and experimental gene therapies, that we would not pretend otherwise. We continue to have the freedom, even in California, which is California, to the rest of it, to both hold and freely express opinions that contradict those of the priesthood within public health and academia. The court even said in so many words that the board may not dress up a viewpoint prosecution as a standard of care or an informed consent case, because that was always the trick, and the judge saw through it. So that's a real, that's exactly what they did with Miley. It was a standard of care, remember?
Yeah.
There's like, oh, they're prosecuting.
You're saying now that the America's APRA cannot tell doctors what to say anymore. They've lost all control.
So
is that what
this was a case within the courts in California, and California, like us, put out some quite draconian laws limiting the speech of doctors, and Pierre Corey and Dr. Brian Tyson. Dr. Brian Tyson was the colleague of Dr. George Fareed, who we've had on a few times.
Oh, yes.
They work together. They treated 20,000 patients. They wrote about 10,000. So, and there was one other plaintiff. So that, look, that's, and the point about this is that you've got to, if you have one jurisdiction, where they're now acknowledging that. We have one jurisdiction where they're finally acknowledging that what they did was an overstep, a huge, gross overstep.
But that's only in California. So
yes, but it is still a Western government jurisdiction. Yes, I think it does. I think maybe not a direct legal precedent, but we're all common law, we're all Western countries. So
that's right.
The fact that one jurisdiction has come out and supported the doctor to speak the truth, and not be made to lie by government, to treat the patients according to their own expertise and belief, still with checks and balances, but not with the the APRA officials standing in every
not with the fear that you're going to lose your job if you say a word.
So I think that was that was very exciting. And then at the same time, just yesterday, this came out. See if I can put.
Wow, I just want to read this. This is from NZ Pharma. Most GPs won't wake up. 5 years of brainwashing in med school is hard to reverse. As my doctor brother once said, if I follow approved processes, I'll never lose my job. Patient outcome, irrelevant. Thanks, NZ Farmers. That's staggering. I might even just hold it there, Cal. I might just take Paul, put on a pretty face. Okay, got it. Oh, it's terrible. I look like an idiot. Anyway, never mind.
No, but I've said that I've said that to you many times over the years. If you follow the protocol, you feel like you're bulletproof. You could kill thousands of people and continue to draw a paycheck.
That's right, Katie, 100%.
Yeah. So the other day I saw, yesterday actually.
I wonder if we should try get Corey on.
It'd be great to have Pierre or Brian Tyson or the other kind of thing.
We've had them before. It's really important for us doctors to hear that. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So the Wall Street Journal did this mini documentary about the lockdown dissidents, and after years after the fact, the Wall Street Journal does a documentary about lockdowns, discusses the harms of them, the lack of scientific benefit or rationale even, and it highlights the censorship of doctors. It focuses on people like Jay Bhattacharya, Martin Kulldorff, Sunetra Gupta, the people who wrote the Great Barrington Declaration.
Yeah.
Look, I wrote that we've had the exact same thing here, So in our case, myself, Roz, and Dr. Robert Brennan, we did the Lighthouse Declaration as a homage, to the Great Barrington. It's surreal to see mainstream media in the form of the Wall Street Journal so nicely spelling out what went on and basically saying the dissidents were right, So
we were right. The anti-vaxxers were right. We were right.
Yeah.
Not our fault. We were right.
So that was a bit surreal, but like I say, it's another reason why I want to remind people to, if you haven't, you don't have to be a doctor. Go to lighthousedeclaration.org, click on Declaration, and sign it. And I can tell you very briefly what the Declaration's about. It's saying we should end the censorship of people, including doctors and scientists. We need to champion informed consent and the right to tell the truth. We need to end all mandates. And you can see I'm still fighting that, Michael, because this Mflusiva is a gene therapy which they're starting to mandate.
Yeah.
It's happening again.
Yeah. It's amazing. It really is staggering. I don't think your Twitter still works.
No, I reconnected it. I saw it streaming there before.
Seems to have come down. I think it actually goes. It's something wrong. It goes like all narrow. If you check your Twitter feed, unless it's fixed that. How's it look, Phil? Anyway, moving on.
Well, look, we were talking about the decision. Why don't we hear from Brian Tyson, who was one of the plaintiffs? It's just a brief. Let's see.
Dr. Tyson. Fear.
Oops,
or Dr. Tyson, since you're always on, I'll start with you. Pierre, hold on one sec. Just your reaction to the big win.
It's a good feeling to know that we're able to continue to give advice and informed consent to our patients without having to worry about being prosecuted for misinformation, disinformation, just because we don't agree with the Dr. Fauci's of the world or the Rochelle Walensky's of the world.
That's so good.
The CDC, these people who are making decisions who have come to find out they don't take care of patients. And so leave the patient care to the doctors who take care of patients. Let us speak out when we find things that are working.
Amen.
And let us speak out about things that are not working.
Yeah.
And not have to, run fear or run behind lawyers or run into a closet and not be able to say anything because we're afraid of losing our medical license.
Yep.
So there you go. So it's like, This clip doesn't have Pierre's response, which is unfortunate, because Pierre's been a cracker. The way he's, if you read his did you read the Substack post about this?
No,
I just love it. He's firing on all cylinders. You got a flavour of it from the quotes I played, but yeah, no, he's firing on all cylinders at the moment. So no, it's sort of like it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. We're sort of living that at the moment. And like I said, I think this case could have implications for us too, and I pray it does, because we did. Here's another little clip that this is Robert Redfield, the former CDC director. Oh, hold on, let me get it up. Oh, there it is.
To explain why he made the decisions that he did, and those decisions that are clearly wrong, for example, the origin of the virus being the wet market as opposed to the lab, mandating vaccines, the 6-foot rule, closing down schools and businesses, these were all wrong. And just admit it, and maybe try to explain his thinking at the time, but have to admit that, I got that wrong. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that he has that in his DNA, that he can actually tell the American public he was.
What was that, Michael?
Go back a bit and look at the female reporter. It looks like she's going to sleep.
She looks like she's
I think,
sucking a lemon.
that's what Fauci owes the American public, to explain why he made the decisions that he did, and those decisions that are clearly wrong, for example, the origin of the virus being the wet market as opposed to the lab, mandating vaccines, the 6-foot rule, closing down schools and businesses, these were all wrong. And just admit it, and maybe try to explain his thinking at the time, but have to admit that, I got that wrong. Unfortunately, I'm not sure that he has that in his DNA, that he can actually tell the American public he was wrong. I think, that's what.
So there you go. That's not me. That's the former CDC director. Just basically saying Fauci should say he just admit it.
Wrong.
Just admit it.
Banning early treatment was wrong. Everything was wrong. And they tried to hide it by attacking people like you and all the other doctors and nurses and phlebotomists and the whole medical establishment. Everyone who's lost their job didn't have to. All of it was crap. And when you look at it, though, why was it? Because some people made an awful lot of money. An awful lot of money. And even if Fauci gets done, what's he going to get? A year in jail? I saw some woman went to jail in England, I think, for 2 years for some Facebook post, but Fauci will get a year, maybe, probably never, for killing maybe 20 million people in the world with a lie.
Yeah, what do you get for killing millions of people?
You get
a slap on the wrist. You get a slap on the wrist, and some harsh language, I think, maybe. I don't think he. Yeah, that's why I wish him a long life, because I don't think he's got enough years left to suffer.
And it was signed by Biden, who no idea he was the president because of his dementia. He's probably like this. Biden, sign it. Sign this, Biden. Thanks.
No, I think it was signed.
Beg your pardon.
I think it was signed by the auto pen. So then the question is, who was really running the country? I mean, we had serious questions under Biden. Who was running the country? At least we know who's running the country now. We don't know what the fuck they're doing with it, but they're running the country. We're confident of that.
Look, we interviewed Ramesh Thakur this morning, and he used to be right high up in the United Nations, and talking about all the complicated politics of Iran and all that. He says no one knows what Trump's doing. No one has any idea. He said he's not even sure Trump has an idea, and it's just they just don't know. And he says It's just like crazy. Like he said, what he was saying, he said they want Iran to live up to its nuclear de-escalation, whatever, let people in, and it wants that the Strait of Hormuz open. Well, until the Yanks fucked it up, the Iranians were living up to their part of the contract with uranium. They were doing that, and the straits were open. So the straits were open, and they were doing it. And then America attacked them, fucked it all up, and now they're going, oh, they're hard to. It's just like. I don't know how we got here as a species. I don't understand how we ever got out of the caves.
I feel the same. We should go back to the caves. I'm beginning to think it was a big mistake. It was a big mistake to ever get out of the caves. This was an interesting snippet. Mflusiva, this is that new Moderna flu shot. Tars noted that Siva is associated with the deity, the Indian deity Shiva. I think it's another way of mentioning it. That's
Shiva, the god of death.
Yeah, well,
after Shiva, the god of death.
Destruction, dissolution, and death. Yes. So
at least they're not hiding anymore.
Well, they never have. It's like, what was that other product that was called? There've been AstraZeneca.
To you, she's got all these heads and stuff. That'd be really cool.
That's
how does Shiva, the god of death, giving you the death shot, flu shot? How does that fit into Armageddon? Is this like two religions clashing here at the same point?
No, not at all. I think it's all great reset sort of stuff. If they give enough, give enough of this shot, we'll see a bit of destruction and dissolution.
It's just Indians, man. They're everywhere. Even in Armageddon, they're everywhere. They probably own Armageddon by the end of the year. It'd be the four Hindu cows of the. 4 Hindu cows of the apocalypse.
The 4 Hindu, well, maybe that's less scary. I don't know.
That is less scary. Sorry,
look, this is me just. I posted recently the flu shots of Trojan horse. I've already bunged on about this. It's making the mRNA. It's normalizing, And they're betting that you won't notice the difference and just think it's a traditional. I've already said all that. But this is something about the maths. I looked at the paper and the media was talking about 27% relative efficiency. So they didn't use a placebo because they would have never flown if you tested against a placebo. But they tested against these quadrivalent flu vax, and they said, look, it's 27% better than that useless thing that we give you every year that doesn't work. So I looked at the same thing with the COVID vaccines. Look at the absolute risk reduction, not the relative risk reduction. And 2% got sick in the mRNA group and 2.8% got sick in the traditional vaccine group. And so that's an absolute risk reduction of 0.73%. It's less than 1%. It's less than it was with the COVID vaccines. Okay, so for this highly adverse event prone flu shot, they're saving people from less than 1% benefit based on the way they gamed the study. They use PCR confirmed influenza A and influenza B, but we don't know. We're the control group, but we don't know the details. What primers they used, what were the cycle thresholds. They could totally game. We know from COVID that they can totally game these results. They're not transparent. We don't have those details, but we do have these details, and we know that yes, it was in the way they set up the study. PCR confirmed influenza, it was a little bit better than that useless thing that we give, and that 0.73% would correlate with 137 people needed to get gene therapy now to prevent one episode of protocol-defined influenza. That's how good it is. You give gene therapy to 137 people, and you might prevent one case of flu. You know, and it's way worse than this. I'm just taking their numbers.
Mandate it to everybody.
And they're going to mandate it. It's so good you have to give it. I mean, it's so good you'll have to give it to everyone.
It have to be a thing of actually saying no. I say, look, just don't take it. You have to.
No, you know? So here it is. The mRNA had injection site pains 2/3, fatigue nearly half, headaches 38%, myalgia 1/3 of them. So like 1/3 of them were in bed after this stuff. You've got to wonder just how much they've been saved from this less than 1% chance of getting the flu. But everyone who gets, but 1/3 of these people, half of them are getting this fatigue and myalgia. Everyone who gets the shot gets, 1/3 of them get it, or half of them get that. But
that's how we should sell it. Take it, because I know you want more. You want neuralgia.
You want more suffering.
You care about not even helping you with the flu. Get more suffering. Get more bang for your buck. Because telling them not to take it doesn't work. So maybe we should tell them to take it.
Well, yeah. Look, they might
reverse psychology. They're going, I'm not going to do what you anti-vaxxers said. You tell them, I ain't going to take it. Just, I don't know.
I just think it's
flu jab pushers. Do you know what I find funny? I'd heard this word for a while, but I didn't realize they'd cancelled the word death. You're not allowed to say death anymore, dead. You've got to say unalived. I'd heard unalived a few times, but I thought it was just wokies who didn't like saying the word death. But apparently TikTok and other things, you say the word death, they penalize you, so people don't say it anymore. Now they're saying unalived, which kind of sounds like not really dead. Trouble is, you are really dead, which is why we came up with the word dead, because it's such a great word, because it means exactly what it says. It's like a full stop with 4 stops, dead. That's it. You're gone, dead. You ain't unalived. You're not taking a break. You're not like a Formula 1 car who just pulled in to get your tires changed. You're fucking dead, which is why we came up with the word dead. So I think we should uncancel the word dead. It's one thing, to be honest, that connects all of us. At one point, all of us everywhere are going to be dead.
Yeah, well, this 21-year-old desperately unhealthy specimen of Australian athletics died suddenly.
Just unalived herself.
She became unalived, and
unalived. It actually was in her thing. It said unalived.
In that one, no.
In the story about her, it said that.
I mean, like people are nuts, but it breaks my look. Every time I see a picture like that, it breaks. A story like that, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Us. Oh, look, this 21-year-old top athlete just dropped dead. I wonder why.
They're baffled. Yeah, they're baffled.
We're baffled.
They're so baffled.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you that,
it's like they're slapping us. It's like they're going, ha, 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 ha. What are you going to do? You're going to mention it? You're going to bring it up with the family? You're going to do that? You're going to go up and go, do you think maybe it's the jab? No, you can't say that. That's bad. So they'll stay silent and just quietly watch them cremate her. So that's, can we do any tests on her? Sure. Why don't you bring a bong? And this is it. It's just fucking, this is how it is. It's just so evil. And it's the banality of evil. It's just natural, and people go, oh well.
You want to see? Look, I have
done a lot of good things for us, so I guess they're allowed to kill us just for the balance. I like balance in my life, So the government gave me roads and gave me rubbish bins and street lights, and it took my kid and killed my mother, and I had a bit of trouble with my mother, so on balance was doing pretty well, pretty well. That's where we fucking live, right? That's where we unalive right now,
But they made them unalive. You said killed. No, they were made. They were made unalive. Look, I apologize in advance for this clip, but it's relevant.
You know, is there something to worry about with medicines? That is, might some of them have side effects? Do we need safety testing? I mean, and we're taking things that are, you know, genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Not us,
You know?
Bill. You, Bill. You're doing that. We're not doing it.
It's, you know, and the reason I played that clip was because it looked to me so much like this bit, you know, when Schwartz was being at her confirmation hearing, she said she laughed and she said, "I believe genetic editing is safe. The shots are safe and effective," and she had the same sort of giggle. You know, I'm really worried about.
Yeah. So this is the woman that's putting mRNA or has approved mRNA in the flu shots. So next flu season, you'll be getting mRNA with your flu shot. Just because I know you want more. I know you want more.
Yeah, you haven't had enough nanoparticles yet, you know.
That's right. That's right. You want to when you know you've had enough nanoparticles is when you fart and your automatic garage door opens. Then you know I'm there now.
Now, that sounds like a conspiracy theory, Michael.
Yeah.
Look, perhaps there's one other thing I'd like to mention. I found this article from the New England Journal of Medicine, which was published just last month in July.
Cool.
And it sounds pretty innocuous. We're just contextualizing the dead donor rule in the era of MAID or voluntary euthanasia. Okay. And I when I first saw this, I thought, okay, these guys should have ethics violations and should be thrown out of the profession. But
so what's that actually mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Rising the dead donor rule in an era of voluntary euthanasia. An era of voluntary euthanasia? Oh my God.
Look at the first line of the abstract. Look at it was 5%.
We're in the age of Aquarian, not in the age of fucking kill yourself.
No, we're in the age of unaliveness.
We're in the age of unaliveness. Age of unaliveness. Euthanasia.
That's it.
It's fucking mental, man. It's mental.
But here's the thing. When I first read it, I didn't realize that these names, these were not just ordinary dudes, you know, some fringe little doctors. One is a professor of Harvard, so-called bioethics. The other one is an intensive care doctor, an intensivist, who is also a major in the Canadian Army, okay? And what it's saying there in the abstract, I don't know if you can read it, it says, growing acceptance of voluntary euthanasia which opens the door to death by organ donation. Warrants recontextualization of the dead donor rule and assessment of the ethical principles involved.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a real problem with this.
I've got a question for you. You're a doctor. When the body dies, how long do they have to harvest the organs?
Well, it depends on the organ.
Come on.
I mean, but yeah, not long.
So they want it right then. They want to go, look, you sure it's your choice to die? You sure it's your choice to die? Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear that last bit. I just pressed the button. Okay, who wants the heart? I mean, is this what we're talking about?
Yes, okay. In a word.
Right.
Okay, so these are senior people who are basically, so the dead donor rule means you take organs from people who are dead.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't take them from people who are alive, and they're using this euthanasia
The body's still alive when they do the transfer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So basically, they die by organ donation, and the thing is, and I haven't.
Anybody would get if the organ was literally a murdered organ. Don't you think, on some spiritual level, you know, maybe become a serial killer or something? You know, just like, I don't know what took over me. I've got a new heart, and now I murder people.
They will say the person consented because they had a bad day or whatever.
They stubbed their toe.
But, it's like the COVID vaccine, except there's no backsies. But look, I can't tell you, Michael. I've been
That's fine, Annie. Ali.
I mean, I can understand the pressure to do this. I asked AI what this might be worth to have all these organs suddenly available. And I hear different figures from $400,000 US per body to $8 million worth of.
I read 8 million because I did it for the quiz show, and I came things that said they can basically make $8 million a corpse.
Yeah. So you can imagine this is 5%.
Not actually a corpse yet.
soon to be unalived.
Yeah, you will be, because they're doing organ transplant. By the time they all got them out, say, actually, I'm feeling okay. Going, really?
I didn't really need that colon. I think that by providing a rationale that turns humans into a biological raw materials, really profitable ones, they're playing with the definition of death and proposing death by organ harvest. And I believe, Michael, they've gone too far.
I do too.
I believe
Glenn here is saying, he's saying, I'm not dead yet. You better say that a lot louder, Glenn. Like, you go near a doctor's surgery, you're yelling it like on one of those loud, what do you call megaphones, going, I'm not dead.
And Michael,
I just want my Viagra.
Just to give some context to this, Michael, listen to Robert Kennedy discussing, Robert F. Kennedy talking about organ harvesting and how he decertified an organ harvesting, organ procurement, they call it, organization in the US. Let me play this. It's worth.
The federal government's first responsibility is to protect human life and patients. When Americans register as an organ donor, they make one of the most generous decisions imaginable. One donor can save up to 8 lives and enhance dozens more. Yet today, more than 103,000 Americans are waiting for life-saving transplants. Every one of those donors, every one of those families, every patient waiting for that gift deserves complete confidence that our organ donation system is safe, ethical, and worthy of their trust. That confidence also depends on physicians and nurses and transplant professionals who performed a record-setting more than 49,000 organ transplants last year. They deserve a system that respects their medical judgment and puts patient safety first. Maintaining that trust requires strong federal oversight. Under the Biden administration, HHS failed to hold organizations accountable when serious patient concerns emerged. Today, we are restoring that accountability. We will not tolerate organizations that compromise patient safety or betray the trust of donors or their families. I'm announcing that HHS has become the decertification of Network for Hope, the organ procurement organization serving Kentucky and parts of Indiana, Ohio, and West Virginia. We reached this decision after extensive reviews by CMS and HRSA found persistent patient safety failures despite repeated oversight, repeated warnings, corrective action plans, and multiple opportunities to improve. Federal reviewers found serious deficiencies in nearly 30% of the cases that they examined. We found patients placed on the organ donation pathway who should have never been there. We found cases with the donation process continued despite signs that patients were not appropriate organ donors. We found repeated failures in clinical judgment, oversight, and patient safety. And we found that these problems continued even after the organization promised to correct them. These failures had real consequences. One of those cases involved TJ Hoover. TJ showed signs of awareness while on the operating table about to have his organs removed. Physicians refused to proceed with the organ recovery because they believed that he was still alive. Because they acted, TJ is alive and is here with us today. TJ, we are grateful that you're here, and we're grateful to those physicians who had the courage to do the right thing.
So can you imagine TJ's alive because I think his sister, who also gives a speech, which I posted, which is harrowing, and TJ, you can hear him crying in the background. That's the voice and the sound you hear Robert Kennedy's responding to. So this is not a philosophical thing that I'm talking about, Michael. From my point of view,
devaluing of humans.
But let me give you just a specific thing. So I used to occasionally be called in to be involved in an organ donation, and there are all these tests that you're meant to do to make sure that the person is unalive, and basically, even if you pass all those tests, it's not clear that how can I say it? It's not clear that they're not going to be present during this execution or this harvest. Let me try and explain that. When you give an anesthetic, one of the complications which you pray you will never see is called awareness. Awareness under anesthesia. So that's when someone wakes up in the recovery room and says, I was awake for all that. I felt everything. I remember your conversation. I remember your conversation about your ex-wife and the Rabbitohs winning on the weekend. So it's incontrovertible. And sometimes sometimes the monitors, even the EEGs and things that we've been doing for decades, can't protect you 100% from this outcome of awareness. Imagine having awareness while your organs are being ripped out. To me, it's the most horrific thing. John Angler did a post on my Twitter in response to that, and did a really nice article talking about, there are people who don't even have a cortex, or the people that they say, look, there's no brain activity, but the thalamus, the deep brain, is still functioning. Your consciousness may not even reside entirely within. People think the whole consciousness resides within the brain, but there's an element of distributed consciousness within the body. So I've got real philosophical issues and ethical issues, and I can't believe. And I did a quick number crunch, and it's worth at least $500 million per year to the Canadian government to start harvesting organs. They're getting so bad in Canada now that the guy with a bit of Crohn's or something went to a food place, met up with a doctor. He said, so you're a bit fed up with how you're going. He agreed to mate himself. The doctor drove him to a mate center, and off he popped. Now, and remember, I was saying I'm worried about that there is a perverse, a perverse incentive.
Yeah, there was something on Twitter that Labor has agreed to have euthanasia over the phone. So you can now don't even have to meet the doctor physically. You can get your euthanasia prescription over a phone call.
Yeah.
That's what
I
that
don't
was.
know.
I don't know if it's true. It was on Twitter. I'd have to look. It's on my phone. I don't have my phone. There's a, but yeah.
I don't know why they're so keen to make us.
Devalues life. So people will be going through life now feeling like there's too many people on the planet, so shouldn't be here anyway. You're not being productive. AI can do everything for you. So what are you sitting here for? Why don't you do something for humanity? Take one for the team. And it's pushing people. Look at all they're talking about teenagers in Europe. There's a lot of teenagers that have been euthanized in Denmark. I think 50, we did in the quiz show, really young people, and they were trying to do it in Canada, that a mature minor. I mean, this term mature minor, a mature minor is a 60-year-old who lives in Tom Price and hates his life. It's not a fucking 12-year-old who's got a brain. You know what I mean? It's just fucking, it's just disgusting. It was just, I can't understand. I mean, literally, am I just this dinosaur of a human being and everyone's moved on and just treating people like they're worthless is the new norm? Is that where I am? Because it's just.
Well, I rejected. Dr. McCullough said that we experienced a wave of nihilism and a lack of compassion during COVID. And what I'm trying to describe is not to get people down, but just to say that wave of nihilism and lack of compassion still exists. It hasn't gone away completely. So we need to guide about. We need to be vigilant. And I would love to see these guys face censure. It doesn't look like they will because they're establishment establishes you could want, but they're paving the way for this. They're making the rationale
from above. So, that's why no one's going to get done, because it's like we're saying who prosecute them. They own all the courts. They own everything. The police officers, all the investigative bodies. They own them all. So, whatever changes has to come from the ground up, saying we want another system because it just protects itself. And now it's got to a point where it's consuming people to live, making them sick to make money from pills, getting rid of them as soon as they can't make. Basically, what will happen is, you get a vaccine injury, you spend all your money trying to get over it, and then once you run out of money, they go, hey, we got this euthanasia, we got this trip for you. It's a great trip. It's called someplace called euthanasia. Yeah, ever heard of it? It's great. It's so good. Everyone that goes there never comes back. That's how good it is. And this is how they're going to do it. And then look at the baby. Right up until the day you're born, you're not wanted. You're born, congratulations, surviving. We're just going to leave you there to your carcass because we want your organs. Absolutely, like humans are worthless. And this is what we have to fight back with, because it's bullshit. But that's what the system is trying to do to us. I mean, you see it with the Prime Minister. When the Prime Minister, I know that joke was about anal tearing, and everyone's going, what's he doing? He was putting young boys down. He's basically saying, young boys, they watch porn and then they just ass rape, they just have ass sex with all these girls and they anal tear them and they don't care. And he's just putting boys down. It's actually bullshit. 18 to, I think 45% of 18 to 25-year-old boys haven't even asked a woman out. So, but it's just putting us down. It's a Prime Minister who absolutely clearly, and everyone can see it, this is why he'll probably lose, doesn't like us. He does not like us. He likes being in power. He likes getting the money. He likes having his view from his house at the ocean that's supposed to be washing over him. He likes getting Kate Perry down there so he can put it on for all his Commonwealth friends and, his Canberra friends and dance there with his little dog that he probably borrowed from a gay mate because, it looks like a gay dog. And then there he is. He doesn't give a fuck about us. And everyone can see it. He doesn't care. That's why after the Bali bombing, instead of thinking, oh my God, he just thought this is a way to get at those right-wingers. And so he did. He went after us, even though he had nothing to do with it. That's it. Not mentioning Islam. No, I'm going to put down the people I hate. And that's how it's seen it. I just can't see any other way. You judge of character. And this is all through society everywhere. You're left on the phone for hours waiting on something, and all it says is, we don't tolerate any aggression. So we're just going to make you wait until you're fucking losing your mind. And then we're going to go, hello, this is AI. I'm totally not going to give a shit what you do, but if you raise your tone above this, I'm going to hang up on you. You have to call back again. You're valueless. Your day, who gives a shit about your day? You can wait on the phone for everything's about making us feel devalued. Even my parents say it. You know, they say you get to their age, you don't have an email, you might as well be living on the moon. You know, this is one way of fighting back as human beings. I don't know why we're not fighting back like this. If people treat you like you're worthless, fuck them off. Fuck them off.
Yeah.
Just don't
Well,
put up with this.
I think a lot of people want to fuck Albo off. The problem is I don't think any of the we have some favorite politicians, but I don't think the solution's coming
right,
through
too,
politics.
Valerie, on the next comment. Yeah, that's right. You know, we got, I was talking to Rich about this the other day, and I really believe this now. The Chinese social media feeds are apparently very different from ours. They're all about motivating young people, building character, basically promoting the country. Ours are just young girls going, well, I've got nothing else to do, so I'm just going to show my ass because I can make money from it. Other people doing all stupid things, pictures of videos of death, destruction, and just people being stupid. And now with AI, you can't tell what's real or not. And I actually think it's like, what's the name of that philosopher with the cave?
Greek?
Yeah, the Greek philosopher with the cave. Plato's cave.
Dionysus?
So it's Plato's cave. So
Socrates.
Socrates' cave, well, someone's cave. Anyway, so you
The
sit
story
in the
of them.
yeah, and you watch images cast on the wall by their version of film, which was like candles, where now it's movies, and you watch the world through the periscope of social media, and you think that's how the world is, which is putting out hopelessness. This is why so many of our children feel hopeless, and that's how they're doing it. And now they control it now with AI. They're going to be able to control what you think reality is. And what's really interesting is I left my phone at Robin's the other night. So it's like my probably 12, 24 hours or long without it. You feel different. You feel different. You don't have this negative subliminal pressure coming in. You feel different. It's actually quite healthy. I mean, I'm still on here, but yeah, I'm wondering if one of the fight backs for humanity is to claw back our worth and say, no, this is a human planet. We've got great brains, great this. Okay, I can do something better than us, but it's just tough luck. We invented it, and just fight back.
We never lost our worth. We just have to assert it. It's just like human rights. The human rights were not affected by the actions of the government. They breached human rights, but those who said no, I'm not going to put on masks, and no, I'm going to take my board out and go surfing because it's ridiculous. They weren't criminals. They were just asserting their human rights, and I think
that's what you get for.
And I think this is what Jaden Beale is. That's why his case is very important because. This idea of mandates has to be killed once and for all.
Absolutely.
And doctors being able to speak and treat patients as they believe is right.
It's crucial to moving forward. That doctors
it has to. And it may be important. I think it's hugely important. But so there you go. We filled in Peter's.
That's right.
Peter's podcast,
right.
I think.
We hit the 2 hour thing. We're going to go out with Harmers and Healers from Troy. I don't have a video for it yet, so Troy and I are talking about doing that now. AI is not quite there. It's almost there, but it's not quite there. But we've got the to everyone watching, I will replay the quiz. So wait.
Hey, Michael, just before you play that, I had an attempt at a revised Welcome to Country. Did you see this?
We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this country, the corrupt globalists of the Epstein class, and the multinational corporate giants such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street.
Did you do that?
Yeah, that's
great, man. Honestly, AI is great, guys. Get on and use it. So we've got the quiz show tomorrow. One of the things we're covering is poverty and homelessness. So I went with that. So in here, I think there's the Melbourne Cup, but they've eaten all the horses, and you'll see it anyway. So it's a bit of fun. I'll get it up. Hold on.
Nothing.
So this is it. So this is for tomorrow. I don't know what the questions are yet. We're working on them, but we'll try to get it up. But have a look at this. This is the latest, intro.
We are nothing, and we are not happy. It's the quiz show on the Clo. 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 It's the quiz show on the Clo.
Hey, I love
Is it only Monday?
We shouldn't have eaten the horses.
Hey, times are tough.
It's China. They want to know if we'll take offers.
Is it only Monday night? Is it only Monday night? It's the quiz show on the club. It's the quiz show. It's the quiz show on the club. It's the quiz show. It's the quiz show on the club. Is it only Monday night? His internet will lag, and his prize is a crap. And I'm pretty sure he never took the fucking jab. But since you're all out of fuel, because your government shafted you, where else can you go? So, roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and come on down to Cafe Locked Out, because it's the quiz show on the club. It's the quiz show.
Where we're heading, people.
It's the quiz show. Come on, everybody.
Giddy up, fast,
Sing
you
along.
lads. Yes, sir. Yeah, keep going. Hey, come. Don't slow down. Almost there.
Is it really only Monday night?
So that's on tomorrow, 8 o'clock. If you want to have some fun, I know Four Corners will be on, but well, we're competing with them, and we're not going to have a big exclusive. We're just going to have bullshit. And now talking this, we'll go out with this. So Troy, if you're watching, I wonder if that can get any bigger. No. So this is Harmers and Healers, and we're trying to get the music thing back up because Troy's just bringing on lots of great music, and some people are wanting our music too because we took it all off Spotify. The only place you'll find Clo music now is on Clo, so we'll get it from there. Anyway, guys, let's see where we go this week in this crazy world. Let's just stay together and try to remain human as they try to strip it away from us. And you want to say anything, Paul, to go out? Oh,
Yeah,
and thanks,
just-
Dr. McCullough.
Yeah, thank you to Dr. McCullough and all the deplorable Hippocratic doctors that joined us. I thought they all did a great job, and apologies that I stuffed up the sound.
What can you do? You're a doctor. See ya. See you guys.
Oh, yeah. Some come to cut, some come to mend. Same little road, same crooked bend. One hand clenched, one hand open wide. One leaves a scar, one walks beside. Who holds the knife? Do they lift you up? Do they fill your cup? Do they feel good in your gut? Hammers and the healers, harmers and the healers, who burn the bridges, Hipp Docs build our back. Harmers and the healers, harmers and the healers, we can choose our world, choose our wings of black or gold. Hard boots march through the market dust, soft hands clean up what broke from trust. A mean word lands like a stone in the rain, a kind word loosens the lock from pain. Who takes? Do they give? Do they let love live? Do they feel right to forgive? Harmers and the healers, harmers and the healers, who burn the bridges, Hipp Docs build our back. Harmers and the healers, harmers and the healers, we can choose our world, choose our wings of black or gold. Steelers, Hipp Docs are the healers. Amps and 832 at the backs, bandage up the fever. Say, come as you are, standing in truth together makes the who quiver. Oh, harmers and the healers, harmers and the healers, who burn the bridges, Hipp Docs help all seas come back. Harmers and the healers, harmers and the healers, Hipp Docs are the healers, united together in the Hippocratic oath. Good